right, folks. Thank you for joining us here on Public Affairs tonight. This afternoon, today, whenever time it is you watch this. We have a program for you that is incredibly interesting, and we know it's going to be of great value to you, especially if you have a veteran that you would like to support. We have with us veterans, 3 of them, and then additional 2, who will give us their perspective on veterans. The Vietnam Veterans of America here in Marion are the ones that are sponsoring this Marion military banner campaign. That's what we're going to be talking about. So here today, right now, we have these veterans with us. We're going to introduce them to you and ask them for commentary. We ask you to just watch and listen to the real veterans giving their perspective on what it means to be a veteran and how important they are. So without any further ado, let me introduce our first guest, Sherry Bosley Litcher. I had to think about that for a moment.
It's a tongue twister.
Remember I told you I had to relax first?
Yeah, it's a tongue twister.
Apparently. So anyhow, you have a significant amount of experience here. But let's begin with you were the youngest of 10 children, raised near Morrill, Ohio, so you're home girl, right? Served 31 years in active service. You were a brigade commander, 8 years experience at battalion and brigade level, and 4 combat tours in Southwest Asia. Mm-hmm. A real veteran. Not that anybody else is not, but I'm saying, a lot of experience. So give us your commentary, your thoughts on this Veterans Banner campaign and veterans in general.
Oh, great. Well, first of all, let me thank you for entertaining us today and letting us have an opportunity to throw our support behind the Marion Military Banner program. It's relatively new topic here in Marion, but it's been going on in different communities around the country for quite some time. And I think I was eager when it was presented to my husband and I to get involved because after returning from the military and coming back home, one thing we recognized, and this happens everywhere, is you kind of take local stuff for granted. And we take the Harding Memorial for granted, but not many towns around America are the home of a president of the United States.
Yes.
We've only had 45 presidents, and Marion was the home of one of them. Mm-hmm. And likewise, we get used to just the people among us and living in our community, and we don't realize how many veterans we have out there mm-hmm. and the service that all of them provided to this country. And, we always say there's only 1% of America that serves in the military. And guess what? We actually exceed that percentage when you look at the census data here in Marion. So we have a lot to be proud of, and I think this is a great opportunity for families, even if your veteran is no longer with us, but it's a great opportunity to get their picture up there with the dates they served, with the service that they served with, and to say, look what the people of Marion County did.
Yes.
Look who we are. Look how much we have to be proud of.
Yes.
Right here in our hometown. And sometimes we just, we forget that. We just take it for granted. Sometimes we have members of our family that we don't even realize they served in the military. Maybe they were World War II or Korean vets, and we just think that was so long ago. We don't even realize that we have our own family members that served. So I'm eager to honor members of my family.
Yes.
From such a big family, we've had several members of the family serve. I think I mentioned to one of the folks talking in preparation for this that I actually, and I think a lot of us can if we actually did the genealogy, and I think we have some folks that are involved in that practice here today, but many of us probably have military roots that go back to the revolutionary times.
Yeah.
And I know we do in my family. My great-grandfather fought in the Civil War.
You're right.
Being from such a big family, our generations are not that far apart. He actually came up from a southern state and joined the 82nd Ohio to fight for the North during the Civil War. And then he settled here in the county and the rest of us
Right.
came along.
I'm very glad to hear your perspective here. Going on to our next guest, LaShawn, Canada. You served 4 years in the U.S. military. You served in air defense artillery, Patriot missile battery support. You were also an orderly room clerk, which obviously carries with it a lot more importance than people normally think of. And you took your own children with you. So help us, from your perspective, understand what it means to be a veteran and why we should honor them.
I believe we should honor them because people should recognize that they gave their lives in order to protect our country, and they deserve the recognition for that. They don't understand that these people gave up a lot out of their lives in order to do that. And some of these people, most of these people, have lost a lot of their life in doing that. And when they receive that recognition, it means a lot to them. Sometimes that's the only thing that they have to hold on to. And just to hear someone say thank you or mention to them, about being affiliated with the military, that means a lot to them.
Mm-hmm.
So them getting that recognition just means a lot.
Thank you very much for that. And I think I neglected to say thank you for your service.
Oh.
I certainly want to include that, LaShawn, for you.
And with myself, that's what gave me the will, the wanting to be in the military myself, was seeing a veteran, a Vietnam veteran, my uncle specifically, watching him, salute and having a tear come down from his eye.
Yes.
That to this day it did something to me, and just watching veterans in general, that spark
Yes.
when you say thank you.
Yes.
How that just brings life to them no matter where they're at.
Yes. Felicia A. Jackson, 26 years of service, by the way, before I forget it. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
There's too many things going on in my head, right? 26 years of service. You served in Iraq and Kuwait. Currently still serving in the 209th Quartermaster Company in Lafayette, Indiana, the U.S. Army Reserve. You've seen a lot from the inside, your perspective.
Well, I know that so many veterans weren't accepted when they came back from combat in our earlier years, and now just to be recognized as a veteran and it being something positive instead of something negative when so many of our brothers and sisters came back from Vietnam and they were spat at. And now, not just for us veterans that are, I guess, new veterans, but the veterans who should have been recognized in years past. So I don't know that mine will be as important as their story. I know my service is just as important, but the recognition will go on forever with the veterans that didn't get recognized.
I think Sherry's the one who mentioned that, my dad was a veteran in World War II. When a family member leaves and serves, the whole family serves with him in
That's
various
correct.
ways. So I'm glad you said what you said because it brings out an important point. When we have U.S. citizens that served in armed forces in Vietnam in this case, because those were the people that were spat at, there's a pain that inflicts every member of the family there. So it's good that we bring that up and talk about it and honor that and then somehow do our part to kind of heal that. We have a couple of minutes left. Any thoughts as you were listening you wanted to add to what has been said already? Any thoughts?
Well, I would like to say thank you for the opportunity to be recognized, especially as just a Marion resident. It's not about what we're doing as a whole, like in the whole world, but just to recognize the Marion veterans so people here can know who they're walking amongst.
Yeah. And if we don't do something like this and have a discussion so that I then learn that you're a veteran, I wouldn't have known that, right? We can't know that.
Right now.
So that gives us, people like me, an opportunity to connect with people who are veterans, right, and to express the gratitude. I think it was your husband, but someone recently told me that when we thank a veteran, for your service, and the veteran says, "Thank you, you were worth serving for."
Yeah.
I mean, the emotional exchange there is just absolutely powerful,
Yeah.
right? So there's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of value, there's a lot of emphasis that needs to be placed on this. And one of the phrases that we hear often in this conversation, not this conversation, but in this context, is lest we forget. So we're doing this today so that we and our viewers do not forget. And that's the whole point of making this happen.
Well, I would just like to take the last few seconds here to add, just to encourage the public to get involved in this program and to honor the veterans and their family and in their community. Get those banners up. I don't know what the funding, I'm sure that information is going to be offered, but because the whole family deserves that recognition, deserves that moment of pride
Yes.
when they go down their city streets and their communities. Many people have driven through communities that have already got this program up and going, and even when you're not a part of that community, you just get that feeling of satisfaction and pride because they are honoring each other.
Yes.
And so I would encourage all the members of the community to look around and honor the veterans
Yes.
in their own family through this banner program.
Yeah. And so, folks, we have a video here we're going to show. Before we go and do that, there you can look, as you probably have seen, like right now here, there's a phone number on the screen. There has been a context of Facebook page. You can go to Facebook page and you can there see to search for Marion Military Banner, and you can find out more about this, and there's an option there for application for this banner and all that. All that information we'll talk about continuing here, but just to listen as a backfill here to what Sherry has been saying, there's a lot of ways that you can become involved, and we just encourage you to do so. We're going to go now to this video so that you'll be able to see a little bit more clearly what we're talking about. Thank you.
Hello. The Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 1117 from here in Marion, is looking for veterans from Marion and from Marion County so that they may honor them with a banner. We know that Marion has for years recognized our veterans collectively right here in Veterans Memorial Park. Now we have the opportunity to honor our veterans individually with their very own banner. Imagine honoring your veteran for their service and their sacrifice with a banner like this flying on the streets of Marion. If you want to honor your Marion County veteran, please contact one of our Marion team members at 419-560-1124. Our deadline for applications is the 28th of February. Don't let your veteran miss out. Contact our people at 419-560-1124, lest we forget.
Hi, folks. Thank you for joining us here. I hope you enjoyed the video. We have additional guests we're going to introduce to you and get their perspective on this banner campaign and what veterans mean to them. I mean, after all, they are veterans. Let me introduce them to you. The first, here on my right, is Mike Brewer. And Mike, first of all, as you might have seen before, I sometimes make the mistake. I know I think it in my mind to thank you for your service, but sometimes it doesn't come out my mouth. So I want to make sure it comes out my mouth, right? So thank you very much for your service. I see here your bio. You enlisted in December 74, re-enlisted in 1977, served at various levels of infantry service, attended airborne training at Fort Benning, Georgia, assigned to the 82nd Airborne Division. And then after active duty, you have been serving with a local reserve unit for years. And again, thank you for all that. And you then have a perspective that is unique to you and your service about the value of Veterans, number one, and the Veterans campaign, banner campaign, number two. I'd like to hear that from you.
Well, I've had veterans in my family all the way back to since before we were even the colonies.
Yes.
My original ancestor came to New Amsterdam, which is now New York, in 1643.
Wow.
He had served in the Dutch army in Brazil, and then he came up here, and I've had family members. I've had several in the American Revolution. I've had several in the War of 1812. I think I've reached 23 uncles, cousins who served in the Civil War. And then I've known veterans all my life, guys from World War II when I was growing up in Korea. And then when I joined the military, I went in right as the Vietnam War was winding down. I'm still a Vietnam era veteran, but all of our NCOs were Vietnam combat veterans. I held an infantry combat MOS, so I've known literally hundreds of Vietnam veterans. I served with them. I spent a lot of time with them. I stayed in touch with a few of them, and I have a pretty good understanding of the struggles that they went through. Every combat generation has its own struggles that they deal with. World War II had their shell shock, and Korea, that was just hard on all of them. I've had several friends who served in the Korean War. Jerry Davis, who ran Mays Jewelers, was a friend of mine. He was a captain in an infantry unit. I know that his service stuck with him, and it does with all veterans. No matter where you were, what you did, where you served, it formulates who you are, the experience and what you went through, whether you were a combat infantryman or a cook or a truck driver or whatever you did. Those jobs were all unique. They were all important, and they were all very difficult.
As I'm listening to you talk and I'm watching your eyes and I'm seeing the emotion on there, I'm very glad that we have high definition cameras, because that camera has captured that emotion, and it adds context to the value of the valuation that you've placed on all these various people that you've talked about. Once again, I can't say it all. I can't say it often enough. Thank you for your service, and all those people that you might know and talk with. There's a lot of people who value them. We just don't get an opportunity to tell them, and we're trying to do that today. Folks, we're also going to introduce you to Ralph Litcher. Born and raised in Half Moon Bay. I had looked that one up. Half Moon Bay, California. Served at various levels, from the platoon level through the battalion level. And 24 years as a U.S. Army aviator. That you have been around, seen a lot. And give us your perspective on veterans.
Well, I guess first, thanks for putting on this program and giving us the opportunity to get the word out on what we got to do to get folks more involved, to help get the community more involved, to recognize the veterans in the community. I think, one of the big things that you go through when you get out of the military is, fitting back in with society and getting back in. So you tend not to tell people what you've done or where you've been. You just want to come back and fit into your old community and move along. And sometimes that's a hard adjustment on folks. especially on the Vietnam era and Korean era vets that we have. And when you look at our county demographics, most of our veterans are of that kind of era. The Vietnam era, about 40%, 5 or 10% then from the Korean War, and then a few still remaining from the Vietnam War. There's much fewer of my era, of the newer veterans. There's some Gulf War veterans and a few, and you would think it would be different because our war lasted so long here. But because we were an all-volunteer force, numbers weren't quite as high during the the time of the draft that we had. We had a different set of veterans that served under different circumstances at the time, and that we should really be looking to honor because we have so many of them here in this county.
Yes.
So I think if we could take the opportunity to get folks that have family members that have probably put all that behind them, maybe it's time we bring it out and honor them like they weren't honored when they first came home. And this is a great opportunity to do that. We don't get the opportunity to hold up our veterans very often. But something as small as putting out a banner and putting them out there, I think is important for the community.
And who better to hold up a veterans plural, than a veteran? And you made a comment that I'd like to make a comment on. It's something that, unless that is mentioned, that we don't think about in terms of the struggle. I know something of that struggle from my father, that when he came home from the military, I mean, it was like 4 years of just very bloody conflict. And when he came home, he had a very difficult. I'm not sure he ever did completely disengage from that. So to go from that back to just civil life is a huge change. You commented on that.
Yeah, I think it's even more so now with our current veterans, because it wasn't all volunteer force and it was such a small number of folks that served, and they did multiple tours. When they do decide to separate from the military, getting back to civilian, there's very few people that they can relate to.
Yes.
Yes. With that. So their families bear the brunt of their reintegration into society. And I think we have a better understanding of it now, but it was the same thing that the Vietnam veterans went through. We just didn't have as much support for them as we currently do. The systems that are in place now for our veterans are thousands of times better than they were in the 60s and 70s. And we should applaud ourselves as Americans for doing that. But at the same time, every time we get the opportunity to honor previous generations who we didn't take care of quite as well, we should do that.
Yeah.
And I think this is one way we can do that.
I very much agree that, once again, there may be viewers tuning in that didn't see us from the beginning of the program, and we want them to know that this is all about the Marion Military Banner campaign sponsored by the Vietnam Veterans of America chapter 1117 here in Marion. And those viewing this outside the Marion local area, you can obtain a banner no matter where you are, and because it's not local to Marion, it just happens to be where the promotion is going on. But they can find us on Facebook, search for Marion Military Banner, or they can share this program with somebody else. They can watch the videos themselves, and they can see that there's a very large number of people that are behind this to create this campaign and sponsor it and do all the legwork of getting it going and all that. We're very grateful to you guys that you have a different perspective than we have, and we couldn't have put this together without you and your perspective. And so we're very, very grateful to you for that. There's actually an additional individual who should have been sitting at the end of the table there, George Kasodis, who is a friend of mine, not a good friend. I just know him, but I also know that he is a veteran, and I've heard some of the stories that we would love to hear from him. But again, George Kasodis is that individual, and the reason he's not here is because he slipped on the ice and fell and injured himself, and we wish him all the best, and we surely would like to know that he's coming along well and he will recover completely from this, and his wife Joanne that alerted us to that. So there are a very large number of veterans don't wear uniforms. They wear shirts,
Hats.
and hats, and some of them do. But there are other veterans that suffer so internally that they don't want to be associated with that service anymore. They want to try to forget that. So that's another. Can either one of you talk about that? That there are those veterans who were so damaged emotionally, psychologically, etc., that they almost like try to hide. Any comments on that? We should honor them, but I'm saying you wouldn't know them on the street.
No, I think that's part of the issue is folks return. If you had an experience you didn't want to deal with anymore, you want to cut yourself off from that. So then you end up cutting yourself off from those services as well that would help you.
Yes.
So we find a lot of them that kind of become that lost population of
Yes.
veterans that there are folks out there trying to help, whether they be homeless or usually some sort of addiction issue,
Yes.
trying to self-medicate
Yes.
to take care of those kind of problems. And I think you could probably wander around Marion and find folks that fit into that, and we think, maybe look a little cross-eyed at folks as they're walking across to the other side of the street when we see them coming the other way. And maybe every once in a while we ought to just ask somebody, what
Those
it
people
is.
who are watching this program that fit that, we want them to know that our gratitude is to them also.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, folks, we have another video that you can watch here coming up shortly. We're grateful to you for viewing this program and tuning in and watching us. Again, I'm your host. My name is John Peterson. But the video that's coming up will help explain more, plus the other information following. And closing out here, the one thing that we want to be sure to say is that the founding man, the man who founded TV39 was David Aiken, and he indeed was a veteran, and you have some information about him, I think, coming up also. But thank you very much for joining with us. Again, the video is going to follow here, and thank you for participating. The video is following.